Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience. I do apologize for starting a little bit later than I wanted to. Yeah, that's kind of on me. I was kind of a little bit late trying to get some last minute stuff going. One of the reasons why I try to get some stuff posted before so I don't have to worry about it. But anyhow, welcome in, every single one of you guys. Really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. You guys are awesome. Um, from wherever you may be watching, this is a multicast that is viewing everywhere. Welcome in, welcome in. Really appreciate every single one of you guys. Um, yeah, we'll potentially discuss that later, if that's a possibility. Anyhow, what we'll be getting into today, we'll be getting into games from yesterday from across the NFL and the NBA. Mainly from, um, I think mainly from the NBA though, just because there's a lot more games to cover. Um, and there's a lot more news to cover actually because we got Victor Wembanyama, who is reportedly going to be not in the lineup for the foreseeable, um, for at least a couple of weeks for the um, Spurs. And also, it sounds like LeBron James is going to be in the lineup for tonight against, where is that? Against the Jazz. So, still sticking with the pick that I had. If you guys saw the posts, which I kind of just recently dropped right about like 4 or 5 minutes ago, or 2 3 minutes ago, excuse me. Um, but outside of that, um, not really much else there. We're possibly going to get, if we have enough time, we're possibly going to get into top five and bottom five for both teams, or for both leagues, excuse me, the NFL and the NBA. So we'll get into that soon. But for now, if anything, I'm probably going to. You know what? Let's just start this how we've always been starting, and then we'll kind of get into what we'll get into today. So, if you guys wouldn't mind joining me in a prayer real quick, I would really appreciate that. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, I want to thank you once again for another great day. Thank you that it's Tuesday. I want to ask that you bless and guide each and every single person that is watching this. Bless and guide their interactions today and throughout the rest of this week. Um, um, I'm just kind of at a loss for words at the moment because you're. Um, I ask that you help us to continue to be a blessing to many and a hero to some as we go throughout the rest of today and the rest of this week. Um, guide our thoughts, guide our interactions as we pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Alright. Let's get into it, shall we? We had some games, and I'm just gonna probably briefly discuss the main NFL game from last night, just because it happened last night, and we're going to have to discuss it. Not that I really want to discuss it, but it's going to be discussed anyway. The Cowboys were rolling in Las Vegas. As you guys that are on visual are seeing this, if you guys are on audio, when you get a second, go to the live at some point, because it's, well, and we'll kind of discuss a little bit of the box score here as well, but it's really interesting to see that for all you Cowboys fans out there, I don't think this is vindicative of where you guys are at. Like, congratulations, you won against the Las Vegas Raiders, but how big of this is a win for you guys, really? Like, you won against a 2-8 team, or 2-7 team. Like, the Raiders have not been playing good to this point, and it showed last night as well. So let's get into the breakdown, shall we? We got Dak Prescott, who quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, ended the night 25 of 33 with 268 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, which, don't get me wrong, that's absolutely fantastic. The only bad thing was 1 sack for 1 yard, which ultimately doesn't mean anything when it comes to all that. 86.7 your passer rating for Dak Prescott, which is, don't get it twisted, it's great. I mean, George Pickens had a receiving touchdown. Same with CeeDee Lamb. Same with Jake Ferguson, and same with Ryan Flournoy. It's a great look for that team, and it's a great look for the Cowboys coming out last night. But I think there's just a little bit of overreaction coming out of the Cowboys fan base from last night. But I digress. Because who knows what actually is gonna be of the Cowboys' future, if you will. There's not a lot of... Whoa. Holy cow. Welcome in from Kick. What the heck? I don't know if that's spam or if that's just people just hopping in. But anyhow, continuing on with this, going over to the Vegas side of things, Geno Smith went 27 of 42 for 238 yards, threw for a touchdown and threw a pick, and was sacked 4 times. And yeah, that just is kind of a vindicative of how well the Raiders season has been going. Not a lot to really show for, which is kind of crazy, but who knows. When we kind of look at the rest of the line here in terms of the stats, it just was not a good night for the Raiders. I mean, I kind of saw a little bit of this game. I wish I could have seen, well, how do I put this? I wish I could have seen just the highlights of this, if I'm going to be honest with you. Total beatdown for the Cowboys in terms of them being down the Raiders. It just wasn't great. I mean, they even got in a safety, so that's crazy. Yeah, because in terms of the drives that they had for the Raiders, you started out the game with a punt and then field goal, punt, interception, field goal, punt, touchdown, safety, downs, and then it ended the game after that. So yeah, just not a very good look for the Raiders. They ended up getting a safety, I think it looks like, in the fourth quarter there. Yeah, that's the safety right there. What was Geno doing there? Anyhow, let's see. Looking at the team stats here, Cowboys won in terms of differential on first down. They had the slight edge on third down efficiency. Did not have the slight edge on fourth down efficiency. Um, One in total plays and total yards. Had one less drive, but I think that one extra drive, I wouldn't really even count that extra drive. So, I mean, they had the same amount of possessions, basically. Um, let's see. Better in the red zone. Equal amount of penalties, and Cowboys had more time of possession with the ball. So, uh, it's not a very easy way to really put this. Um, but just the Cowboys did not. I mean, the Cowboys had fun against the Raiders, don't get it twisted, but up to this point in the season, I think in terms of overreaction Tuesday for this team, I don't think this really shows much. Um, they soundly beat a team they were supposed to soundly beat. I mean, where's my predictions? I mean, obviously in terms of how I thought this game was gonna pan out, it wasn't entirely it wasn't entirely how I was thinking it was gonna pan out because I didn't think the Raiders weren't gonna score as many points as or I thought that they were gonna score more points is what I'm trying to get at, but um, I did not think that the Cowboys were going to, I guess, dominate as much as I thought that they would. And their record kind of shows why I was a little bit skeptical of how good they were going to play against the Raiders. So, I mean, congratulations, Cowboys. You won against the Raiders, but the fan base hype a little bit is just, I don't know. I think there's a little too much overhype. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, in terms of the score prediction, oh, I haven't even done the results either. So let's see. So I had a win there. The Eagles won there, so that's a loss. And then I'm pretty sure the Ravens won. Same with the Broncos. Seahawks lost, so that's that's an L there. 49ers won, so that's W. I think didn't the Steelers win or something like that? Yeah, they won. So if we look at the rest of because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves some interesting, because the thing is, and I saw some stuff earlier about like some Cowboys fans being like, we're super stoked. I mean, get it, totally get it, but in terms of where you guys are at in the standings, you're 3-5-1. No, 4-5-1. Yeah, 4-5-1. If the Cowboys really have any shot at making playoffs, they probably would have to win out. Because right now, in terms of playoffs, they're not even close. They're behind the Carolina Panthers. they're behind the Carolina Panthers in the rankings right now. And I hear some Cowboys fans after yesterday saying they have a chance. Like, I'm not saying they don't. There's plenty of games left to be played, and I'm not saying they don't have a chance. But with them being 4-5-1 and behind the Carolina Panthers right now, it does not look good for them at all. Okay, it does not look good for the Cowboys coming into coming into Week 12. Okay, like what are we talking about here? Like, I get it. You want to be happy, you want to celebrate a win, but I I don't know. And the remaining schedule for you guys, as far as I recall, and we're going to take a look at this right now, the remaining schedule for the Cowboys, I'll check that later. They have the Eagles next Sunday, which is going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys. I'm just going to say that right now. Very tough matchup. And then they got the Chiefs and the Lions and the Vikings. So, if anything, so they got Eagles, then Chiefs, then Lions, then Vikings, then Chargers, then Commanders, then Giants. The only team that, as of right now, I would say is a not guaranteed win per se, but a very high chance of the Cowboys winning is the Giants at the very end of the season. Other than that, they got the Eagles, which is going to be a very tough matchup, and I highly think that they're probably not going to win that game. They got the Chiefs the week after that, which the Chiefs, outside of losing to the Broncos this past weekend, have just been playing a lot better than they did to begin the season and can potentially still make playoffs. Or, in my personal opinion, the Chiefs have a higher chance of making playoffs at this point than the Cowboys do. But we'll take a look at some stuff with that later. And then you got the Lions and then the Vikings and the Chargers, which the Vikings and the Chargers have been a little bit inconsistent, so who knows how those games are going to play out. And then you got the Lions, who, as far as I'm aware, they're still in... Yeah. They've been winning games, they've been losing games, they've been right there in the mix with everybody else. And they're also trying to look to make playoffs as well, so that one's going to be a tough matchup. So, and then, I mean, in a sense, you could also say that the Commanders are almost pretty close win for the Cowboys as well, in terms of it's going to lean towards the Cowboys winning because they're going to be without Jane Daniels, I'm pretty sure. But who knows? Who knows? I don't, and again, I don't have 100% confidence that the Cowboys are going to make it to the playoffs this year, just because of the fact that the remainder of their schedule is just not great. It's not in the Cowboys' favor because, especially when you're 4-5-1. If anything, they're probably going to end the season, if they have those 2 wins there. I'm not going to say all of them are guaranteed losses, but there's chances that there's going to be losses there. That's at least 5. They'll be 6-10-1. And maybe, just maybe squeak by and get into playoffs. But I'm not going to say that I doubt it. I'm not going to say that I don't. But, if we kind of look... Oh. That is not what I was expecting to see there. Where is an article? Is there like a... This is a playoff machine. Okay, this is not what I was expecting this to be. Okay, hang on. Odds. What the heck? Oh, this is betting odds. I didn't want that. What the heck? Transactions, weekly leaders, playoff picture. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. 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 And if we take a look at this for the Cowboys here. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely an overreaction Tuesday for the Dallas Cowboys right now. Just taking a look at them making playoffs, winning division, or earning a bye, like, anything outside of them making playoffs is at a less than 1%. And then even making playoffs is at under 10% for the Cowboys right now. It's sitting at 7%, according to what's this called? You know what? According to ESPN's article, NFL playoff picture projections, updated chances to make postseason, win divisions, etc. Which it looks like the Dallas Cowboys are just down in the dumps at this point. I'm not saying that 7% chance is not gonna move up anytime soon, but with the tough matchups that they have coming into the next few weeks and stuff like that, it's not looking great for the Cowboys at all. Like, very, very tough sell right now. For the Dallas Cowboys as a whole. But if we kind of look at the breakdown for the rest of the NFC, very high chance for the Eagles to make playoffs and win division. Looks like they're firmly in the driver's seat there. Same with the Rams. It looks like they have a high chance to not only make playoffs, but win division. Obviously, the win against Seattle on Sunday definitely boosted them. And it looks like also San Francisco. Wow. The top 4 teams are all from the NFC West in this playoff picture projections right now. That's kind of crazy. And then the Bucks looks like they're firmly in the driver's seat down in the NFC South. Green Bay looks like there's not really firmly in the driver's seat of the NFC North, but you got the Packers and the Lions and the Bears all right there in terms of making playoffs, winning division. So, NFC, if anything, the NFC North is going to be a very interesting division to watch coming down to the very end of the season. Who knows how well this is going to turn out. But because I think the rest of the schedule for a lot of these teams, there's a lot of division rival games to be had. There's some inter-league matchups, and obviously all the way down here, Giants are done. I don't need to see that anymore. How come we haven't seen an eliminated right next to him yet? What the heck? Is there like a 0.01% or something like that? Is that why it's not completely eliminating them? Yeah, because the Saints and the Commanders... but doesn't their record show differently yet, though? Or maybe not. 3-8. At this point, without Jane Daniels, it's basically wraps for the Commanders. Same with the Saints. Cardinals, they're in a very tough division. There's 3 other teams in that same division that are already up top, so it's going to be very tough for the Cardinals to even come close there. But anyhow, to finish out the conversation that we were having earlier with the Raiders and the Vikings, 33-16 was the final score in Las Vegas. So, very good looks for the Cowboys, obviously, but when it comes to playoffs and the remaining schedule for the Cowboys and all that, it's not looking too great. And then for the Raiders, obviously, with them being inconsistent all season, it just doesn't look great for the Raiders to this point. They're not looking like they're going to be making playoffs anytime soon, or at least anytime in terms of this year anyway. But if we look at the AFC, it's just a little bit of a different story. You got a lot more teams that are firmly in the driver's seat in their divisions, especially the Broncos that took the win over the Chiefs over the weekend. If we kind of take a look back at the division standings real quick, the Patriots in the driver's seat in their division. Same with the Colts. I mean, there's both those teams are at least 2 games ahead of the teams right behind them in the Jags and the Bills. So, um, very very solid um, approach, I guess, if you will, for these teams coming into Week 12. Um, which I did see something. There's like 4 or 5 teams that have a bye this week. I can't remember the teams off the top of my head, but I will make those predictions later on. Um, but yeah, you got at least 2 games ahead of the team behind them. So even if they were to lose against that team that is behind them in the Chargers and the Jags, it's not going to entirely make that much of a difference, but they can't lose another and have the other team win. Otherwise, there might be that tie-breaking decisions, if you will. But we're going to continue to kind of break some of this down here. Obviously, the Broncos have very high chance of making playoffs at this point. I don't want to say even if they were to lose out, they would still make the playoffs, but I mean, it's still a high chance. Excuse me. My normal drink for the day. Let's see. So we get the but the Patriots yet have a 72% chance of winning the division. How does that work? I mean, they have the Bills right behind them. Do they still have to play the Bills twice? Is that why they're at a 72%? Why do I still have that open? Hang on. No, they played the Bills and the Dolphins. Oh, they still have to play the Jets one more time. But that still doesn't make any sense. They still have to play the Bills one more time, but even if they were to lose to them, they still would be 1 game ahead of them. That seems like an interesting percentage that they have for the Patriots there. But anyhow, obviously the Broncos firmly in the driver's seat in their division. I mean, even though the Chargers have been winning games, I feel like the way that they have been playing in terms of the Chargers have just been inconsistent. It's not that I don't think that they're a bad 7-4 team. It's just the way that they have been, the teams that they have been winning against and teams that they have been losing against have been like, how do you lose to this team? But also, how do you win against these teams and lose to these bad teams? Like, I mean, I'm not saying all their losses have been to bad teams, but, like, I mean, you lost to the Jags 35-6 this past weekend. Like, it's, like, the Chargers are such a weird, they're such a weird team this season. Like, they were able to beat the Chiefs to start out the season. They were able to beat the Raiders, which obviously now is not really much of a say at all. I mean, they were able to beat the Broncos. Didn't soundly beat the Dolphins. They only beat them by 2. Soundly beat the Vikings. Beat the Titans by a touchdown. And beat the Steelers by 15 points. Like, the way... And checking out their losses, too. They lost to the Giants, who are basically out of the NFC playoff picture. They lost to the Commanders, who have been absolute, like, I mean, they've been terrible, to say the least. And they also lost to the Jags. So it's like, how can we really say that the Chargers are this year in terms of how good they are? Like, with the inconsistencies, it's like, how can you say that the Chargers are good? Like, these are some bad losses that they lost to. Like, if anything, these games, they should have been wins across the board for the Chargers. If anything, the Chargers should be sitting at, if you change those 3 to W's right now, they'd be 10-1. They'd be 10-1 and firmly in the driver's seat in the AFC. Almost. Outside of Denver. Like they'd be like maybe a game ahead of Denver, and they would still have to play Denver one more time at the very end of the season. But even still, it's like, ugh, it's so hard to really gauge how good the Chargers really are because of how bad their losses have been in terms of the teams that they lost to anyway. It's just, ugh. It's just been a weird season. They just happen to have been winning against, yeah, they just happen to be winning against good teams. And that doesn't mean that the Chargers are good. Like, again, like, it's just a very weird situation in the AFC for sure. But anyhow, you take, let's see. Do I really need to discuss anything else here? I mean, it's crazy that the Jags even have a chance of making playoffs at this point. They've been very inconsistent, but also are 6-4. So I mean, they at least have a chance above even the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the AFC North has been whacked. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. And AFC North has just been weird. You got the Cleveland Browns, who have just been playing awful, or just been playing like the Cleveland Browns, however you want to put that. Cincinnati Bengals haven't been playing great. Joe Burrow has been out for basically the entire season with turf toe, because he still hasn't been back. Joe Flacco has been has it been Joe Flacco? Has it been Joe Flacco or somebody else? Yeah, it's been Joe Flacco. And apparently he's still on IR, which is excuse me, which is crazy because it's like, how like, is it really that bad of an injury? Like, I've never had turf toe, so I've never really experienced it, but just saying it out loud is like, what are we doing here? Like, it just sounds like it's not that bad of an injury, and it just is like, okay, you could just walk it off and move on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to really say what what exactly is happening with some of these teams. You know what I mean? And then obviously Baltimore, you had Lamar Jackson out for about a good solid month, and then he comes back and, you know, still is Lamar Jackson like, obviously, but with him being out for those games, it's really tough for the Ravens to even come back and try to, you know, I mean, not say they can't make playoffs, but with the way that they've been playing and, you know, who they've been playing against, obviously, with the 4 straight losses. It's 4 straight losses. They've had 4 straight wins. I mean, they got the Jets next week. So, I mean, they got 3 straight home games. It's Jets, Bengals, and Steelers, which I'm not going to say it's an easy stretch, because it really isn't. But, I mean, you win against the Jets, you're on your 5th game winning streak. And then you got the Bengals, who are probably still going to be without Joe Burrow. And then you got the Steelers, who I believe still have Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, even still, it's like, it's a really tough rest of the season for them, because they still have to face the Steelers twice, the Bengals twice, and then they also have the Patriots and the Packers outside of the Jets, which I think is going to be a solid win for the Ravens coming out of this next weekend as well. If I were to just predict it right now, but we'll talk more about those predictions later on this week. But yeah, just a very interesting situation in Baltimore. Especially since two of the teams within their own division they have to still face two more times before the season is over. Which, I mean, granted, do I think they're going to win? They have a potential, but, I mean, we haven't even talked about the Jags yet. But, like, I mean, even with all that, I mean, I think the Jags probably could. They could potentially find a way because they still have to face the Titans twice, the Colts twice. Which, I mean, you even both of those out because the Colts might sweep them and the Jags might end up sweeping the Titans. They have the Cardinals coming up this weekend, and then the Broncos and the Jets. So, I mean, if anything, they're probably going to be right behind Indianapolis, and I think Indianapolis is probably going to win the division, but and if anything, I think Jacksonville might actually make a wild card spot. I'm just going to say that right now, that it's going to be an interesting set of games coming the next few weeks for the Jags, but with the way that their schedule looks like for the remainder of the season and whatnot, I think it's their season to lose, basically, in terms of making playoffs for them, because as very interestingly played as the Jags have up to this point in the season, it's it's going to be very. I would be. With how well the Jags have been playing over the course of the past few seasons, it's not unheard of that they wouldn't make the playoffs, but with the way that also Trevor Lawrence has been playing as a quarterback in terms of this entire season, in terms of his inconsistency, that would also kind of play a little bit of a factor, but I don't know. With the division that they're in, with the players that the Jags have, it's going to be an interesting next few weeks for them just because, I don't know. I don't think they'll be firmly in the driver's seat per se because they have Houston right on their tail, but. And Houston might have an easier schedule coming the rest of the way than the Jags do, so. If anything, Jags might have a tougher sell, but. I mean, obviously, we haven't even taken a look at them yet, but anyhow. Since we got a lot more NBA games to kind of cover, I think that's going to do it for the kind of playoff pictures for right now. And actually, before we do that, let me just do my teams tier list. Let's get into the tier list again, shall we? Let's do this. I know it's going to take me a second, so give me like 30 seconds to set this up here. NBA. Boom. What the heck? Okay, so we're gonna have to readjust this a little bit. So we're gonna move these down, and actually this is after not week 9, this is after week 11. So we're gonna move all these down out of the top 5 here for just 1 second. We're gonna try to adjust. Well, we'll do that later. So, if we take a look at the standings here, we take a look at conference. So, now the top 5 has kind of changed a little bit. just because the Seahawks ended up losing to the Rams. Not that they can't be back in the top 5 in the next couple of weeks, but I did speak a little too highly of the Seattle Seahawks coming into week 11. But if we were to make a list, where is it? Okay. So, based on the top 5 that we have been using in terms of the format from last week, where as far as I'm going to go, with breaking all this down, we're going to do who I think is going to be making it to the Super Bowl, and who is number 1 is basically who's going to win that Super Bowl. Number 2 is who is making that Super Bowl but isn't going to win. Number 3 and number 4 are the AFC and NFC championship losing teams, and who I think in a head-to-head matchup of those two teams is going to win. And then number 5 is how do I explain this? Is basically who I think is probably going to be the best team to basically lose the division matchups. So not the first week in the wild cards, but the very next week that they ended up losing to not make the AFC or NFC championship games, basically, is how I'm going to kind of break this down. So, with that in mind, not to solely base everything off of records and stuff like that, because records can only say so much, right? If I'm going to have to do this right now, I would still, how do I do this? Oh, use your knowledge, because you've been covering this all season. I mean, the Broncos did just beat the Chiefs in the later portion of the season, which is typically when the Chiefs have been shining over the past few years. So how do we want to do this? Because the Patriots, they won against... Who did they win against this last weekend? I know this. What the heck? Where? Oh, they absolutely crushed the Jets. That's right. I'm stupid. Okay, cool. I don't know. With how... you know what? This might be a little bit controversial. But at this point, I don't care. I don't care if it's controversial or not, because we are going to go week 11 there. All right, so breaking this down, okay? Number 5, I got the Indianapolis Colts. Here's why. Indianapolis Colts have been playing very well up to this point. Don't get it twisted. Indianapolis Colts have Daniel Jones, who has been balling out for the Colts all season. Their entire lineup is pretty much stacked all the way through, and it shows in their record. They are, I believe, 8-2 coming out of the bye week. And coming out of the bye week, I don't know off the top of my head exactly who they're going to be playing against for week 12, but they have been solid for at least the first half of their season, and I have a feeling it's going to stay that way for the rest of the season. They're just going to continue to play solid football. I don't think that they are. I don't think that they're a good enough team to beat any of the teams ahead of them, let alone make the AFC championship game like I have the two teams ahead of the Colts and the AFC as of this particular moment. And in a sense, you could say that I'm just already setting this up in terms of, AFC and NFC in terms of who's better, but in a sense, it's not really that at all. It's just a matter of what these teams are potentially going to be doing in terms of head-to-head matchups of the teams ahead of them. So if any of these teams above the Colts were to play against the Colts, I would say the Colts would lose against these teams that are ahead of them as of this proper moment. I could potentially be wrong, obviously, which is why I kind of changed this week to week. Same with everybody that's been doing top fives. So anyhow, moving moving on to number 4, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. They've been playing solid. They've been playing very good football. They just haven't been playing as high of a caliber um, football that we've seen in past years, I should say. Even though they are defending champs from last year, I still don't think that the way that they've been playing this year, I can really say that they are firmly, I guess, in the driver's seat, if you will, in terms of going all the way back to the Super Bowl and repeating. I do think they have a chance of going back to the NFC Championship, though, in terms of reappearing at the NFC Championship game. But the team that I have beating them in that NFC Championship, I believe, is just a little bit better. And it kind of showed last weekend when they played against the Seahawks, and the rest is history at this point in terms of how well they played against the Seahawks this last weekend. So, anyhow, moving to number 3, we got the New England Patriots. Yes, they have, in my personal opinion, probably the MVP candidate right now, the leading MVP candidate in Drake May. And, you know, it's a very solid lineup across the board for the Patriots. They've been playing very, very well up until this point. They've even been playing a lot better than the Bills, and they're 2 games ahead of the Bills in that division. Yes, I think that they're going to make the AFC Championship game, but because of, I mean, not to say that they're too young to not win the AFC Championship. The team that they're playing against, potentially, from what I'm seeing right now, in terms of who we'll see in the AFC Championship, I think right now it's probably going to be the Patriots and this other team that we'll mention here in a second, but the Patriots will just fall short against the team here. So moving on to number 2, we got the LA Rams. LA Rams, very stout, very amazing team. They have, I believe, only 2 losses to this point. Yes. And yeah, so they're 8-2 coming into week 12. Where is it? Sorry, all the way over here. Very good on both sides of the ball. It showed last Sunday, as even their defense played very well, because I believe, if I remember correctly, we discussed this. I think it was like they had Sam Darnold throw for like 4 picks or something like that. So probably one of Sam Darnold's probably worst games in a very long time. So, yeah, very, very, very tough out for the Seahawks, obviously, but for the Rams at this point, with the way that they've been playing, I think they're going to make the NFC Championship game. I think they're going to win that game. But the one team that I think is going to beat them in the Super Bowl, as of right now, as of finishing out Week 11 and potentially getting into Week 12, is the number 1 Denver Broncos. I think they're going to be winning the Super Bowl as of this point in the season. Denver ended up beating the Chiefs not soundly, but they ended up beating them by a field goal over the weekend. Yeah, just a huge win for the Broncos, and they just have been playing. I mean, they've had comeback wins against the Giants. They beat the Chiefs, and I mean they beat the Chiefs on a last-second field goal. So I mean, I didn't really see the whole game, so whether you call that game a comeback win against the Chiefs or whatnot, like, there's a second win for you in terms of what I think, in terms of what a championship caliber team kind of looks like. But yeah, I kind of think that the Eagles are going to be kind of dethroned in a sense in terms of who the number 1 team who I think it is. So, anyhow, when it comes to the top five, you got Broncos at number one, Rams at number two, Patriots at number three, Eagles at number four, and the Colts at five. And that is the top five list right there. Moving into bottom five, this might adjust just a little bit. Mainly because it looks like we have a new team down at the very bottom, and I would say firmly in the driver's seat of getting the number one pick. Yeah, because other than that, I don't think the rest of this has really changed all that much. Oh, except maybe the Browns. Yeah, because the Dolphins now have 4 wins. So Dolphins, you've been upgraded out of that, which is kind of cool. But they just have not been playing well outside of that. Raiders might be in trouble. Saints, Giants, Browns, Jets, and Raiders. Okay, so I need to bring this down to 5. I would bring that away. I don't know. Maybe I have no. I mean, maybe they've been playing a little bit better in the past few weeks. But no, I think the Giants are just. The Giants might actually be worse. Yeah, I think that's where we'll go. There, yeah, because I think when it comes to all of everything that has been happening for all these teams so far, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this plays out in terms of who gets the number one pick. I mean, right now, where's this sound coming from? Okay, it's coming from there. Okay. All right. Cool. Got that fixed. And yeah, okay. So bottom 5. How do I explain this? So, in terms of what I look at in terms of criteria for bottom 5, obviously the record, but if they have the same record, how do I do this? I mean, I'm kind of doing this just a little bit blind actually, just because I'm like barely remembering what teams that all the teams in the bottom 5 have been losing against. I mean, obviously we're gonna have the Titans at number 1 just because they've only won 1 game to this point of the season, and I think that's probably gonna stay that way for the rest of the season. Just because they just haven't been playing great at all. I mean, you got and like I'm saying right now, I mean, granted, the Raiders haven't been playing well. They've only gotten 2 wins to this point. But even outside of that, it's going to be, I mean, if in terms of head-to-head matches right now, and maybe these NFC teams are going to be better than the Jets, the Browns. Like, I mean, in terms of head-to-head, maybe I would say the Raiders, but obviously all 5 of these teams, the Browns, the Jets, the Giants, the Saints, and the Raiders, you could really make a case for any one of these teams to win against any one of those other teams. They're just bad. They're just bad teams. They've been playing not very great football to this point, and I think it's going to continue for the rest of the season with these teams. They just have not been playing great at all, and it's unfortunate, but I I don't really know what else to say about these teams. There's not really a ton of good to talk about there. I mean, the Jets obviously traded away two of their best top players on defense, so that really doesn't help them in any case whatsoever. Um, I mean, what what else do I say about these guys at this point, right? Like, I mean, you could really make the case for any one of these teams in the at least outside the Titans, excuse me, but at least for the Browns, the Jets, the Giants, the Saints, and the Raiders, you can make a case for any one of these teams to just be, you know, battling for the 2 through 5 seed when it comes to bottom five. You know what I mean? Um, but I think the way that the NFC has been playing compared to the AFC, um, I think that's why I'm gonna, kind of have this set up the way that I do. Um, but in terms of bottom five, I'm gonna have the Saints at number 5. I got the Giants at number 4, Jets at number 3, Browns at number 2, and Titans at number 1. That's my bottom five. Um, and anyhow, um, well, hopefully that clipped. Let me just double check them real quick. Well, we'll double check them later. But anyhow, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna discuss the NBA games that happened last night, especially the close ones. This one was pretty close. Clippers were looking to try to get their 5th win of the season against a very hot 76ers team coming into last night's game. Obviously in Philly, so it was going to be even tougher for the Clippers to win, especially since the Clippers were without some key players. Um, I don't really know what else to say in terms of an intro here, but I mean, you get a look into a lot of the stat line coming from last night. Looking at the Clippers, I mean, you got James Harden, who is the usual suspect that we've been talking about as of recent, anyway, from the Clippers. Um, from last night, he had 37 minutes of play, and in those 37 minutes, had 28.6 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Was 7 of 25 from the field, 2 of 12 from behind the arc, and 12 of 12 from the charity stripe. So big night everywhere else except for the 3-point land, but still key contributions for him nonetheless. And then Kobe Sanders also had himself a night as well. After 30 minutes of play, had 17 points, 1 board, 1 assist, 1 steal, 5 of 11 from the field, 3 of 7 from behind the arc, and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So big night from Sanders as well. And then a key guy coming off the bench from... Well, actually, before we get to the key guy coming off the bench, you got Ivica Zubac, who ended the night with a double-double. After 34 minutes of play, had 14 points, 13 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 7 of 13 from the field. And then you also got John Collins, who, so a double-double night for Zubac. And then John Collins had, after 27 minutes of play, had 11 points, 7 boards, nothing the rest of the way in terms of the stat line, but was 3 of 8 from the field and 5 of 5 from the charity stripe. So, solid night from Collins, as his 6 points came from inside the arc, and over half of his points came from the charity stripe. So he at least found a way to. Oh my goodness, James Harden breaking Pritchard's ankles. My goodness. And then obviously top scorer coming off the bench from Clippers ended up being Nicholas Batum, who after 21 minutes of play had 11 points, 6 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 of 7 from the field, 3 of 7 from behind the arc. He shot all of his shots from behind the arc. That's crazy. And was 2 of 2 from the charity stripe, which is crazy. Wow. Wild. Wild, wild, wild. And then not really anything else popping out of the box score there for the Clippers as they fell a little bit short. They only fell short by 2 points, which I think is pretty interesting because even though the Clippers ended up falling to 4-10 after this game, I think there's still a lot of positives to come out of this. We'll kind of discuss that here in just a second. But getting into the Sixers, you got the top scorer being Tyrese Maxey, who just has been on a tear to start this season, which is insane, and he just continued it last night almost with a 40 piece. But after 41 minutes of play, had 39 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, 13 to 27 from the field, 4 of 11 from behind the arc, 9 of 10 from the charity stripe. So huge night from Maxey as he almost dropped a 40 piece. And then Andre Drummond was another guy with a key contribution here after 38 minutes of play. Ended the night with a double-double, 14 points, 18 boards, 1 steal, 5 of 8 from the field, and 1 of 2 from behind the arc, and 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. So big night from Drummond as he knotted up the double-double. And then VJ Edgecombe, who we've been talking a lot about, rookie for the 76ers, has been balling out as well. And it kind of continued last night. After 37 minutes of play, had 14 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. Nothing else the rest of that stat line, but was 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 6 from behind the arc, and 0 of 2 from the charity stripe. So not really good night at the charity stripe, but still a solid night the rest of the way for him as he was able to contribute on the offensive end of the court. Top scorer coming off the bench for the Sixers ended up being Quentin Grimes, who after 36 minutes of play had 19 points, 2 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, 4 of 5 from the charity stripe. So big night from Grimes as well, as the Sixers end up taking the win and moving up to 8-5. Once again, the Clippers fall to 4-10. But I still think, and maybe I'm talking a little bit too highly of the Clippers right now, but I think this is kind of a good, not really learning experience, if you will, because they've already had a ton of those already, you could say. But just the fact that they were able to only lose by 2 points to a team that has been very hot in the early going, I should say. Maybe not completely super hot fire like the Oklahoma City Thunder have, but like at least have been hot in a lot of games to start. And I think for the Clippers coming out of this, I think is a very I guess you could say it's a defining moment because they can stick around with teams that are good. So I think moving forward, especially in terms of the predictions that I'll be making in terms of against either with or against the Clippers, it's going to be one of those where I'll need to kind of keep a closer eye of who's going to be in, who's going to be out on both for both teams that the Clippers play against, because the Clippers can stick around with pretty much anybody, and they kind of proved that last night. So, obviously still early in the season, so who knows what's going to happen with both of these teams going through the rest of the way, but it's gonna be pretty cool to see what's gonna happen down the stretch for both of these teams, because this could be one of those moments where the Clippers say, hey, we can stick around with teams that are very, very good. So, um, and don't don't get it twisted, because it's it's gonna be it's gonna be fun, I think, to see what happens with these Clippers for sure. So yeah, 108-110 the final score in Philadelphia. Um, and it looks like they matched up in the third, but with the 12-point differential in the fourth quarter, that's what sealed the deal for the Sixers in terms of winning that game, which or winning last night's game, which is kind of crazy that they were down by like 10 points to that point. Yeah, that's kind of insane. Anyhow, moving on to another one of those games that, in my personal opinion, um, is I wouldn't really say a defining moment, I should say, but is still one of those who knows who's going to win this game, because both of these teams were coming into this game with 8 wins, but the Heat had played one more game to this point than the Knicks had. I'm not going to say that gave them an advantage, but also I think probably what gave them a little bit of an advantage was the fact that Jalen Brunson was out of last night's game, and I'm not gonna say that they needed him, but Khalil Ware, as far as I'm aware, he had himself a night apparently, which, yeah, he did across the board. I think I saw highlights for this too. I think at least I want to say I saw highlights on this. Oh no, I did see highlights on this. Okay, so anyhow, we're getting into the Knicks box score here. Top score for the Knicks last night, and ended up being Miles McBride, which is very, very interesting. 39, or excuse me, after 39 minutes of play from Miles McBride, he ended up with 25 points, 4 boards. Nothing the rest of the way in terms of the stat line, but was 10 of 23 from the field and 5 of 12 from behind the arc. So, big night from McBride. Next guy that scored pretty well as well ended up being Mikal Bridges after 39 minutes as well. Had 23 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. 9 of 14 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. So, a huge night from Mikal Bridges as well. Karl Anthony Towns ended up knotting up a double-double after 33 minutes of play. Had 22 points, 15 boards, 2 assists, 1 block. 7 of 19 from the field, 1 of 7 from behind the arc. Yikes. And then 7 of 7 from the charity stripe. Like, outside of the charity stripe, his accuracy was trash last night. I mean, except maybe inside the arc was a little bit better, but just behind the arc was almost ugly. Or pretty much ugly. But anyhow, you had 2 scorers also from the Knicks coming off the bench that ended up scoring 14 points, in Jordan Clarkson and Josh Hart. I mean, man, the Knicks have a freaking crazy lineup. My goodness. Like, they have a solid lineup across the board, especially since they have Jordan Clarkson and Josh Hart coming off the bench. Even though they lost last night to the Heat, this is going to be a very interesting team coming down the wire to end the season. Like, just continue to keep an eye on the Knicks for sure, because this is a team that last season, I believe, made the Eastern Conference or Eastern semifinals, I want to say. It was either the semifinals or the conference finals. No, because I think the Celtics ended up playing the Pacers. Or maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. But anyhow, if I were to make a prediction right now, Mm, no, it's too early. It's too early. I won't make that prediction right now. But with all with all of this that's happening, I mean, it's a very solid crew. I mean, even Josh Hart almost knotted up a double double. He was one assist away. But I mean, with 34 minutes of play last night, 14 points, 5 boards, 9 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. I mean, it's like I was kind of saying earlier. This entire lineup is just stacked. It's I mean, you got Carl Anthony Towns, obviously. You got Mikal Bridges, and unfortunately didn't have Jalen Brunson last night. Um, could have helped kind of make or break, but um, it's just one of those. It's just one of those you gotta. I mean, it's still early, obviously, but I think the Knicks are definitely making playoffs come the end of the season. I'm going to bank on that right now. Um, oh, do I want to put it up somewhere though? If I make this prediction, I think it's too early to make any postseason predictions. I think. Um, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. So, as of right now, with the way that the Knicks have been playing, with the way that their lineup is, even though they lost last night, I think the Knicks are going to this postseason make the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm saying that right now. They are making the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks are going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Even though they lost last night, they're making it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, again, you're getting timed out. But anyhow, yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, Knicks making a conference finals. I'm just gonna predict that right now. Um, and then moving into the Heat, scoring breakdown from last night. Top scorer from last night ended up being Norman Powell. Wow, they had like 7 or 8 guys in double figures, which is crazy. Um, you got Norman Powell, top scorer for the Heat after 32 minutes of play, had 19 points, 1 board, 3 assists, 1 steal. 9 of 20 from the field, 0 of 3 from behind the arc, 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So not a great night from behind the arc, but was able to contribute in other ways. You got Khalil Ware with a double-double, who after 31 minutes of play had 16 points, 14 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 7 of 9 from the field, 1 of 1 from behind the arc, 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So must have gotten a big and one for sure. And then Davion Mitchell also had himself a night as well. After 33 minutes of play, had 18 points, 3 boards, 5 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 7 of 12 from the field, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, 2 of 3 from the charity stripe. So Davion Mitchell had himself a night as well. Top scorer coming off the bench. I don't know how to say the last name. I think it's Fontecchio. Fontecchio, is that how you say it? But Fontecchio, after 21 minutes of play, had 14 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 5 of 11 for the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc. So big night from Fontecchio as well. Close out of that. Anyhow, I'm getting distracted by other things. Anyhow, the final score coming out of this one, 115-113, Miami Heat wins in Miami. Why the heck does that keep turning on? I'm not even... What the heck? Yeah. Knicks fall to 8-5. Heat move up to 8-6. Both of these teams are still firmly in the driver's seat in their respective conferences. Yeah, they're just right there in the mix in terms of, I guess, if the playoffs were to happen today. Not that that makes that much of a difference, but even still, um, it was a very solid matchup last night. Went all the way down to the wire. Um, yeah, moving on to let's see, how do I break down this game between the Hornets and the Raptors? So oh, what do I how do I put this? Yeah, so I ended up predicting the Raptors to win this. I didn't expect it to be close, or I didn't expect it to be this close anyway. But I mean, for the Hornets, um, with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges and Kalkbrenner, I mean, this is how do I put this? Well, let's just kind of break down some of the top scorers from the Hornets first, and then we'll get into some extra stuff real quick. But top scorer from the Hornets ended up being Concanopoulos, who, after 36 minutes of play, had 24.7 boards, 1 assist, 3 steals. Um, Top rebound getter ended up being Kalkbrenner. After 28 minutes of play, had 7 points, 10 boards, 2 turnovers, 2 blocks. Was 2 of 3 from the field and 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. So solid night from Kalkbrenner. Top assist leader from last night ended up being LaMelo Ball. After 28 minutes of play, had 20 points, 5 boards, 8 assists, 1 steal. One of the top steal getters last night for the Hornets as well ended up being Miles Bridges, who after 38 minutes of play had 22 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 9 of 22 from the field, 3 of 9 from behind the arc, 1 of 2 from the charity stripe. So solid night from Miles Bridges as well. But yeah, just a solid night across the board from the Hornets, although they kind of fell short. Top scorer coming off the bench ended up being Colin Sexton, who after 28 minutes of play had 17 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. And nothing for the defensive stat line, but was 5 of 12 from the field, 2 of 6 from behind the arc, and 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. So big night from him as well. Anyhow, so solid night pretty much across the board from the Hornets, even though they fell short. Um, yeah, it's a very, very interesting night for sure from the Hornets. And then you kind of look at the Raptors scoring breakdown. All their starters ended up in double figures, which could potentially have been a factor here in terms of how the Raptors ended up winning this game. But your top scorer from the Raptors ended up being Brandon Ingram after 37 minutes of play at 27 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 9 of 21 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, 6 of 7 from... Do I really have to... Do I really have to do this? Oh, that's not what I meant to do. What was that name? Control copy. Okay, cool. We're setting that up. Cool. All right. Anyhow, sorry I had to do some moderations for some of the chats here. People like to spam apparently. Anyhow, we're getting back to So where was I? We kind of went through Brandon Ingram's stat line. Next couple of guys both had 16 points here after 33 minutes of play. RJ Barrett had 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 7 of 16 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, 1 of 3 from the charity stripe. So big night from Barrett. Scotty Barnes also had 16 points, but after 33 minutes of play had 6 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 8 of 16 from the field, and nothing the rest of the way in terms of shooting, but didn't need to because he was 50% from the field, so solid night from Barnes. Emmanuel quickly had a night as well as he knotted up a double-double after 31 minutes of play, had 15 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 6 of 11 from the field, and 3 of 8 from behind the arc. So huge night from him as well. Let's see. Top rebound getter also ended up being Emmanuel quickly. Top assist leader was Scotty Barnes. Not really a steal leader, but blocks leader ended up being Brandon Ingram. And then a top scorer coming off the bench ended up being Grady Dick, who after 19 minutes of play had 10 points, 1 board, 2 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, and 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. So big night from Grady as he was coming off the bench, as the Raptors end up getting the win at home. 110-108 the final score in Toronto. Toronto Raptors move out to 9-5. Hornets fall to 4-10. So a little bit of a more rough start for the Hornets coming out of this game and into the season so far. Oh, but how do I want to put this? For the Hornets, I mean, I think you could kind of say the same thing about the Hornets, and I think I might, I kind of went into the predictions last night a little bit differently with the Hornets, and I think I'll do that again with the Hornets moving forward. But even still, it's just going to be one of those. How do I put this? It's going to be one of those interesting. This team as a whole, I think, is going to be interesting going down the stretch as well, just because of the fact that you got yourself a team in the Charlotte Hornets that, even though they're 4-10, kind of like the Clippers are right now, they have solid players across the board. I'm not going to say that they're great players yet, but you have solid players across the board for the Hornets that, even though they lost last night, I still kind of want to speak highly of the Hornets, because the way that I've been kind of predicting their games as of late just hasn't been. Um, I think I've been kind of underestimating the way that they've been playing as of late, and so that's kind of where we stand right now in terms of um, uh, and just kind of moving forward. I think I'm gonna have to do the same with the Hornets as I did with the Clippers, where I'm gonna have to kind of look a little bit deeper into, okay, who's injured, who are they playing against, who are the stars that are gonna be, you know, playing for these teams, and how well do I think the Hornets are going to be playing against them, just because of the fact that they lost against a team that I think is, even though they're good to this point, um, this doesn't make this doesn't make it or break the fact that I think that the Hornets are a bad team. They just fell short last night. You know what I mean? So, um, who knows? Um, but anyhow, that was the final score in Toronto, 110-108, as the Raptors ended up getting the win. Um, moving on to the surprise score of the night, in my opinion, because the Nuggets were on a hot streak of a 7-game winning streak, and the Bulls were on a 5-game losing streak coming into tonight, and um, yeah, just an unfortunate way to end streaks for both. Well, it's a very great way to end a losing streak for the Bulls, but a bad way to end a winning streak for the Nuggets, if you ask me. Um, very tough to really say how this all is going to pan out for the rest of the season, but as we kind of break down some of the top scores from last night, you got Josh Giddey and Dazumu with 21 points each, but Dazumu was coming off the bench, which is crazy how he was able to get 21 points yet was coming off the bench. Like, what? Like, how is this guy not in the starting lineup at this point? Like, what? Also, side note, Josh Naylor re-signed with the Seattle Mariners for a 5-year contract, which is crazy. Anyhow, um, but yeah, Josh Giddey, after 30 minutes of play, had 21 points, 14 boards, so he knotted up a double-double, 6 assists. 8 of 12 from the field, 5 of 8 from the charity stripe. So even though he did have a, so even though he didn't have a very high percentage 3-point shooting night, he still was able to contribute in other ways as he knotted up a double-double. And Josh Giddey, but also Dazumu had a night as well. Also had 21 points, but after 26 minutes of play had 3 boards, 5 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 8 of 9 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and 4 of 5 from the charity stripe. So a huge night from him as well. Kevin Herter also had a night as well. After 24 minutes of play, had 20 points, 2 boards, 1 assist. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 7 of 12 from the field, 4 of 9 from behind the arc, and 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. So solid nights across the board for the Bulls. Even though their starters didn't all end up in double figures, they were still able to find ways to contribute in one way or another, even though Okoro didn't really have a ton of stats to really talk about. Um, I mean, here's what I think was probably the main difference last night between the Nuggets and the Bulls, right? There were a lot of highlights where the Bulls were just continuing to move around and seemed to be a lot more energetic than the Denver Nuggets last night. And not to say that it really showed in the scoreboard at the end of the night, but it was one of those where this game could have been a lot worse than what it actually was to end the night. Like, in my personal opinion, way too many highlights of the Nuggets, like starters, even just standing around and kind of watching on like both sides of the court. It was weird to see. Like, I mean, a team that's on a 7-game winning streak typically doesn't do a ton of standing around to get to that 7-game winning streak, or even to that 8-game winning streak for that matter. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of skeptical. I don't know, but who knows? Anyhow, and then getting into the, I mean, and oh geez, and some of you might say that looking at this stat line is like, well, so how was there a ton of standing around if a lot of these players ended up with double doubles and Nikola Jokic ended up with a triple double? Well, yes, when you see the highlights from YouTube, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm just gonna say this right now. A lot of those highlights, you'll see a lot of Nuggets players in particular just kind of not doing much. Um, anyhow, because trust me, I saw them last night. it I know 100% for a fact that I saw this last night. I saw a couple of highlights last night, and this was definitely one of them. I can't remember what the second one was, and I have a feeling it was the Heat and the Knicks. But again, it's crazy to imagine that, or it's crazy to even see that Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, like, all three of them ended up with either, if not double doubles, they ended up with triple double. Like, Nikola Jokic ended up with a triple double with 36 points, 18 boards, 13 assists. Jamal Murray ended up with a double double, 34 points and 11 boards. And Aaron Gordon also ended up with a double double as he knotted up 24 points and 10 boards. Like, obviously, your usual suspects for the Denver Nuggets cashing in, but ultimately ended up falling short. I mean, they allowed the Bulls to end up scoring 40 points of their 29 in the third quarter. Like, what are we doing? And then you get outscored in the second half, 67 to 63. So, there's at least 3 of the 4 points that you got outscored by in the second half. So, in terms of the final score. So, not a solid night at all for the Nuggets. What is that? 50, 60, 64 to 63 going into half. He just barely could get anything going in the second half. But anyhow, Nuggets didn't really have a top scorer coming off the bench. And yeah, 130 to 127 final score in Denver as the Nuggets fall to 10-3. Bulls move up to 7-6 and end their losing streak after last night. That's the last of the recap from the NBA games last night. Moving into today's slate of games and some big news. Some big news from a couple of teams coming into tonight. Number one, with the Utah Jazz going into the Lakers tonight. It sounds like tonight's going to be LeBron James's debut. Regardless of all of that, though, I still think that the Lakers are still going to win tonight's game against the Jazz. They have guys like Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic who have just been absolutely phenomenal for the Lakers to start out this season. Obviously, Luka Doncic is trying to. I think Luka Doncic and Reeves are both trying to make cases for themselves in terms of wanting to. Um, Wanting to be a part of that MVP conversation, if you will. So, if anything, it's going to be really tough for the Jazz to beat the Lakers. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying it's going to be hard for them to do. But, I mean, don't get it twisted. I think Larry Markkinen and the rest of the crew for the Jazz are still going to find a way to keep this a close game. But it's I don't think it's going to ultimately end the way that a lot of people might think it will. But yeah, first game but yeah, that's kind of really the breakdown that I have of that game. I'm predicting obviously the Lakers to win that game at home, especially for LeBron James's debut and stuff like that. Like there's so much hype going over there. Like it's all cool, but who knows? This might be end up it. I don't know. I feel like with all the hype around this, in terms of LeBron James's debut and stuff like that, I feel like with all that hype, I would think that this has to be LeBron James's last run, especially since he's been out for basically a month and a half. No, is it a month and a half? It's been a month into the NBA season, and he's been out with what I kind of did a little bit of research of was like a low back injury, basically, is what's the phrasing of it is, I guess, in terms of the weird name I can't really say because I don't really want to say it wrong, but it's just yeah, it's just a weird. I have a weird feeling that this might be the very last run for LeBron in terms of he might end up retiring after the season because you know it's it's been a good run for him. If I'm gonna be honest with you, he's got a lot of accolades on his plate, and a lot of people put him in the conversation for an NBA GOAT. But my personal opinion, I don't think he's there in my books yet. We'll kind of explain a little bit as to why probably later this season, if not probably once NBA hits the off season. But anyhow, also other big news when it comes to the Spurs and the Grizzlies. This is kind of why I'm thinking that the Grizzlies are probably going to find a way to beat the Spurs tonight. It sounds like from what I was seeing earlier, Victor Wembanyama is going to be out for at least the foreseeable future in terms of like the next couple of weeks. Where is it? But he is going to be out with. Where is it? There it is. Calf injury. Sounds like multiple weeks. So, could potentially be December 2nd. Could potentially be later than that. But as of right now, looking like there's potential for it to be December 2nd is his estimated return date. But even then, even regardless of who else they have out, I think it's very tough. It's going to be a very tough stretch for the Spurs offensively to try to keep them in games and to try to have them win games. Not to say that the Spurs can't win without Wembanyama. It's just going to be a tough stretch. But I'm gonna think that tough stretch is gonna really start tonight. Um, as I kind of predict, as I will predict that I think that the Memphis Grizzlies are gonna beat the Spurs at home. Um, the other games coming into tonight, you got the Golden State Warriors going into Orlando. I think Orlando, as of right now, has a couple of key players that are out that I think are going to be kind of the key difference in this game. Um, yeah, you got Suggs on uh, on day to day with a groin injury, and you got Ben Carroll and Wagner out. So um, it's gonna be a tough sell. Um, but my personal opinion, I think the Warriors are going to win this game tonight. Um, that's Boston that I potentially was looking at then, I guess. Anyhow, and then, yeah, I'm predicting the Warriors to win in Orlando. You also got the Boston Celtics in Brooklyn against the Brooklyn Nets. As far as I'm aware, there's not enough injuries on the Celtics to really sway my decision to where the Brooklyn Nets are going to win this game. If they do win this game, I think it's kind of an upset central, if you will. But look to the Celtics to kind of handle their business in Brooklyn. Same with the Detroit Pistons heading into Atlanta. Detroit's been hot, and I think is going to continue to stay hot for a while until they have a plethora of injuries across the board. Kate Cunningham and the crew has just been completely lights out for the Detroit Pistons. They're, as far as I last checked, I think they're top of the Eastern Conference right now. Yes, they are. They only have 2 losses, so I think they'll stay that way for at least for the foreseeable next couple of days. But who knows what could happen? This could be a difference of one game to another, but yeah, predicting the Detroit Pistons to win in Atlanta, and then the final game to tip off late tonight. That is also going to be on NBC and Peacock. Same with the Memphis Grizzlies playing against the Spurs. Is going to be the Suns going into Portland against the Trailblazers. Yeah, I'm just going to say this right now. I could be underestimating how well the Trailblazers have been playing. Excuse me. Even though I've kind of grown up in the Pacific Northwest area, some people would be like, hey, shouldn't you really be a Portland Trailblazer fan at this point because you haven't really seen the Seattle Sonics ever play? I don't kind of really affiliate too much. I haven't really, seen a ton of NBA games in particular to really how do I put this? To really say one way or the other in terms of who I want winning this game. It's not that I want the Suns to win this game. I just think that the Suns have a little bit too much of I guess of a star plethora, if you will, to where I think it's just going to be tougher for the Trailblazers to win at home, especially since they got Grayson Allen, who's playing a little bit better than I expected to this point. They got Devin Booker. They got Dylan Brooks. So, as far as I'm aware, with Shane... Ooh, hello. Stop. I get it. It's an Amber Alert. Which, unfortunate. But not really much I can do there. Anyhow, yeah, I'm predicting the Suns to win this game in Portland. Not to say that they can't win, but look to the stars on both of those teams to really cash in and cash out for um, both those teams coming into tonight. So, with that being said, it is that time to look into top 5 teams in the NBA and the bottom 5 teams in the NBA at this point of the season. So, I'm going to kind of delete some of these away. Let's see here. Alrighty, so this top 5 and bottom 5 has changed just a little bit. The Spurs are down. Nuggets, Cavs, and Rockets. Where are the Cavs? There they are. So the Knicks moved down. Spurs moved down. If anything, I'm just going to move all these guys down here. That way I have an empty row. Just in case I need to rearrange some of these a little bit. So, not official. Let me see if I can try to... Nope. Oh, that's the wrong thing. It's this one. 10-3, 10-5. I wouldn't really say that the Nuggets have been playing any better than the Cavs as of recent. But that may be just because I just saw them lose to the Bulls. In terms of the highlights anyway. But yeah. I think that's how we're going to do it right now in terms of top 5 teams. Once we get into the later portions of the season, we'll kind of break down a little bit in terms of kind of like how I've been kind of breaking down the NFL top 5, or at least the top 5 anyway. We'll kind of break down a little bit more of the top 5 of the NBA in terms of the later portions of the season when we get to that point. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of base it off of how well that the records have been showing. Excuse me, so far to this point in the season, and yeah, just how well each one of these teams have been playing, not solely just based off of record, but how well I think that they're going to be playing come postseason. As of right now, I think as of right now, my top 5 are just going to stand as it's just going to be sitting right there as of right now. You got the Rockets at number 5, Nuggets at number 4, Cavs at number 3, Pistons at number 2, and last but not least, but kind of quite obviously, the Thunder at number 1, because both the Pistons and the Thunder have been hot. But again, Rockets at 5, Nuggets at 4, Cavs at 3, Pistons at 2, and Thunder at number 1. Just because obviously the Thunder have just been absolutely lights out to start the season. The only team with 1 loss. Really tough for me to really put anybody else in the number 1 spot right now. Got the Pistons at number 2. As far as last I checked, they're the only team with 2 losses in the NBA right now. So, and they're top of the Eastern Conference right now. So, really tough sell for me to really put anybody else in that position right now in terms of the number 2 spot. Number 3 through 5 have just been kind of really much of a toss-up for me. I mean, I obviously have the Cavs at number 3 because I think that they've been playing a little bit better than the Nuggets and the Rockets to this point, and maybe that would just be a little bit of bias, but who knows? This could really change over the course of the next couple days. And actually, I probably won't be doing another one until December 2nd, I think, because I won't be doing a show next week because I won't be in the studio. But but anyhow, um, one of those yeah, it's just one of those interesting setups right now in terms of where we're at in the season between all of these teams. Um, yeah, it's a tough sell, but and it's still kind of early in terms of where we're sitting at, but that's kind of where I want to kind of set up that for right now. Um, with how well the season has been going for all these teams so far, this is kind of how um, I rank at least the top five. Um, Now, some of you might be looking at me going, "Okay, well, if there's only three losses, I mean, if you're basing it solely off of how many losses certain teams have, then wouldn't that mean that the Nuggets and the Rockets should be above the Cleveland Cavaliers because the Cavs have five losses to this point, and the Rockets and the Nuggets have only three?" True, but like I kind of said, it's kind of fluid and or it's kind of fluid in terms of the way that teams can kind of get flipped around. Um, but it's also, as of right now, as of what I've seen from the past couple of days, even though the Nuggets just, I guess, collapsed out of a 7 game winning streak, I would have put them at number three, but just because, I mean, I haven't really discussed much of the Rockets either as of the past couple of shows, if you will. Um, but just the fact that the Cavs, as of right now, I think have been playing just a little bit better than the Rockets and the Nuggets. That's why I kind of have them at three, and not really just basing them off of record and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we stand there with the Cavs sitting at number three. Um, let's see. And then we're looking at the bottom five here. Um, uh, Brooklyn Nets, you are out of the number one spot in terms of bottom teams in the NBA. Kudos to you. I don't think you're way out of the. I don't think you're out of the bottom five yet. But yeah, give me the Pacers and the Wizards down at the very bottom there. Give me the Mavs out of that. And then Pelicans and Kings. Cool. I think, yes. Yes, I think this is how we're going to do it. So, no. Give me the Wizards down below. Pelicans right there. Kings right there. Yep. Yep. And then the Nets. Right? Right? No. No. Other way around for that. Okay. So. And then to just kind of finish this out, bottom five teams in the NBA right now. Number five I got or excuse me, top five worst teams in the NBA right now. I got the Kings at number five, Nets at number four, Pelicans is at number three, Wizards at number two, and Pacers at number one. Just because all these teams, especially the Pacers, have just having bad games to start the season. But yeah, once again, Kings at five, Nets at four, Pelicans at three, Wizards at two, Pacers at one in terms of worst teams in the NBA to this point of the season. So, reason being, I think the Pacers just have had a bad turnaround from a season ago. Obviously, the Wizards just haven't been playing well at all. You got the Pelicans, who just have been without Zion Williamson, and the rest of the team just hasn't been finding a way to um, win games without him. You got the Brooklyn Nets, who have been playing a little bit better um, from the early going, just haven't been able to find a spark to really. Um, how do I explain this? To really get a boost, and to really boost them out of the bottom five. They're out of the they're out of the top one, but they're not out of the top five yet. I would have to see the Nets actually win a lot more. Well, by a lot more games, I would think probably like maybe one or two in the next week. As long as they win one or two in the next week, I think they get themselves out of the bottom five. So, um, and then obviously the Kings, even though they have a lot of vets in their lineup and stuff like that, they just have not been playing well with those vets, and maybe it's just a matter of um, their vets not cashing in very well. But anyhow, with that being said, that is gonna have to do it for this. But once again, I really appreciate every single one of you guys for joining in and tuning in from wherever you may be tuning in from. Um, uh, Let me just, before we go here, let me just transition to this real quick, and then we'll send you guys on your way. Really appreciate, once again, every single one of you guys for tuning in. You guys are awesome. And let me just do this, and then bring back to this real quick. And then let me just end with a prayer real quick to send you guys on your way, and then I will see you guys tomorrow. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, I want to thank you again for another day. I want to ask that you bless and guide each and every single one of us as we go throughout the rest of today and throughout the rest of this week. Would like to ask for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary as well as we go throughout the rest of this week, as we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, thank you so much, each and every single one of you guys, for watching. Unfortunately, I gotta go like now. But if you have been liking all the content that I bring you guys up to this point of please don't hesitate to hit that follow button down below and hit that like button. Also, if you're on YouTube, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. This is a multicast that's being multicasted to so many different platforms. But outside of that, thank you so much, every single one of you guys, for watching. I will catch you guys. I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3:00 Eastern Time. I will see you guys then, or excuse me, 4:00 Eastern Time. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you guys.